it is great to be here with the top producers of the Lucas Group, and I've seen every Star Wars movie. I don't see George, but I know he's in here. I'm just kidding, you know I'm kidding. I know what you guys do. You guys get people jobs. And you get people excellent, world-changing, atmosphere-raising. And I know you work both sides of the fence. What I like about you are connectors. Excellent. You're a company that's near and dear to my heart because of the great work you've been doing for our nation's veterans for the last 50 years. My posse back here corrected me. They said it was 49 years. I'm like, round up. Round up. But Laura has a message for you. She wanted me to tell you, way to go, amigos. That's right. We speak Spanglish. Feliz Navidad. My llama is Jorge Bush. And to all my friends here tonight, on either side of the aisle, mi casa is su casa. But if you don't love freedom, I'll use a little Mexican food lingo and say, mi casa is nachos. I want to thank my friend Randy, who himself underwent a great transition to your new CEO. That's right. And I want to know who was the headhunter that landed that blue whale. Also want to mention someone who has done an outstanding job of leadership at the helm of the ship called Lucas, Andy Jennings. I knew it was you. You can come give me that kiss now if you want.
Security, help me.
Andy began her career at the Lucas Group back in the 70s when James Taylor and Carole King were all the rage. Or was that Carolina King? And Andy was vital in the growth of this wonderful company, and that's why Art Lucas named Andy his successor back in 2009. Andy, we salute your commitment to excellence. Speaking of world-class leaders, I wish Laura could be here to see you guys. You're beautiful. You're awesome. So is Laura. Lovely Laura, that's what I call her. She's still my heartthrob. She still floats my boat. She flies my kites. She flips my flapjacks. You know, when I first met her, she was a librarian. I think that's why I checked her out in the first place. And I'll tell you a little story about when we left Washington and headed back to Texas. You know, we jumped in Air Force One. Oh, Air Force One. Huh. What a man cave. And we had my Ford F-150 pickup truck, King Cab, waiting for us at the border of Oklahoma. So we got parachuted out and jumped in the truck and started tooling across the desert. Stopped in Waco to fill her up with some flex fuel. And that's when I realized I hadn't gotten my wallet back from the Secret Service boys. Y'all guys like my Secret Service agents back behind me? Top shelf.
I like JC the best.
I'm not saying which one I like the best. It would not be, well, I don't care if I'm politically correct. Well, anyway, so I had to ask Laura if she'd go in and pay for the gas for me, while I pumped it. And she went on inside the station, and about 3 seconds later, she popped her head back out and said, "George, get in here." And I'm looking around, what? And I went inside, and it turned out the guy behind the counter was one of Laura's old flames from back in high school. So, "Oh, how you doing?" Gave him the back slap and the autograph. And then we jumped back up in the truck and we're tooling across the desert again. And I started chuckling. Yeah, just like that. I'll do it too. It's contagified. So Laura looked at me and said, "What?" And I said, "Honey, think about it. If you'd married that guy, you'd be working here." She says, "George, if I'd have married him, he'd have been president." And with that, gentlemen, would you help me and give an awesome round of applause to the ladies in the room, without whom this world would be dull and disgusting. Ladies. We love you. And that's a fact. And while we're doing a shout out, how about a shout out for America's first responders, her police, her firefighters, her EMTs, the people that stand between us and danger each and every day. Let's let them know that we love them. How about one for the troops, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the I'll never forget. It was this time of year, my first trip over to the Green Zone. It was Thanksgiving, November 3rd, 2003. We had to have a moonless night because we had to fly under the cover of complete darkness, radio silence. And we had all the lights off on the ground when we landed. We had to feel our way in. I won't say we hit anything when we landed, but Laura and I got new camel hair coats out of the deal. Went over there to eat a little turkey with the boys to encourage the troops, to prove to the world that George W. Bush does not have arachnophobia. Speaking of animal clothing, I just picked up my new boots, and no ostriches were harmed in the making of these boots. He was harmed before the making of the boots. In a tragic hunting accident with Dick Cheney. I want to thank former Vice President Joe Biden for conveying upon Laura and me the Liberty Medal for our work with U.S. military veterans. This happened in Philadelphia at the History Museum on Veterans Day just a few weeks ago. And I tell people all the time that we are fortunate as a nation to have had millions of volunteers that put themselves in harm's way in the defense of the nation they love. And I want to thank you, the Lucas Group, for being the #1 job placement organization that helps them with the difficult task of transitioning. I view our vets as a tremendous national asset. I mean, these folks got a PhD in life without even going to college. They've seen a lot. They've learned teamwork and discipline and various skills, and they know how to get the job done under pressure. There's a constant comment that we hear from our vets: man, I want to work, but they wonder if there's a job for them. And the work that you guys do is so vital to our country. And I just probably going to thank you about 12 more times before I'm done. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. You know, we have a little thing we call the Transition Roadmap at thebushcenter.org. And I'd like you guys to, check it out. Maybe there's a way that we could synergicize. The best thing these guys can do is come out from under the fear of the unknown and learn how to talk about their experience peer to peer. But that's a huge mountain for them to climb. And so when they can hang out with another vet who's been there, it really helps them a great deal. And speaking of leadership, I have the extreme privilege of meeting and working, and sometimes working with and sometimes working against leaders from all around the world. And it was my honor to represent you, the great American people, around the world, as I sought to bring to the nations of the world that simple but profound message that good is better than bad. It'd be a no-brainer, right? That freedom is better than bondage. I don't mean that kind of bondage. And that right is better than left. Just messing with you. Just messing with you. Hey, look, well, you know what's beautiful about America? We can be so diverse with different ethnicity, different languages, different skills, and yet we are all one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's a beautiful thing. And I know what some of you guys are thinking. You're wondering if I'm really me. I assure you I am. But don't be intimate. Don't be dated. Don't be intimate. Don't be scared. I'm just like the rest of the people y'all work with. I lost my job back in 2008. Lost my house on the same day. 2 terms. It only felt like about, 8 years. See, I tried to get my brother Jeb elected. I even went out on the campaign trail with him. What a grueling 48 hours. The first thing you learn about the campaign trail is it's not an actual trail. I brought my mountain bike for nothing. But Jeb would have made a great president. Y'all were just north of him in Georgia, as he was the governor of Florida, that great state that great peninsula? Peninsula is a body of land that is surrounded by water. 3 out of 4. But Jeb is an honest fella. I learned when we were little kids that he will always tell you the truth. All you got to do is hold him down and dangle a loogie over his face. Oh, the stories I could tell you. But we'd probably go to jail. Just kidding, just kidding. You know, 2.5 years ago, America spoke loud and clear, and we had our 45th peaceful transition of power and elected Donald J. Trump, a non-politician, non-conventional communicator, and America is enjoying more wins, more prosperity, more employment, more record-breaking stock market prices than any time in our history. They will debate his style till Jesus comes. But you can't argue with results like that. God bless Donald J. Trump. Oh, everybody's got an opinion of Donald. Even the Pope weighed in on American politics back during the election. Remember that? By questioning Donald Trump's faith. As in, does he have any? I think so, but I know how we can find out for sure. Send him hunting with Dick Cheney. I don't know if we'll see Donald pray, but I know we'll see Donald duck. He's working hard, Donald. He's cutting new deals, dealing with Mexico, Canada, China. Hey, I tried to deal with China. It's not that easy. They just don't speak our language. And I had great ideas on healthcare reform. One of my ideas was one I cleverly titled, Walk It Off. You get hurt on the job, walk it off. Save the country a fortune. I also figured we could use those TSA screening booths as, little, like a CAT scan or something. I don't know if they'd find any cats. And the TSA agents could do simple procedures like prostate checks. They're already wearing the rubber gloves. One of my favorite dignitarians to visit America, I mentioned him just a few moments ago, was the Pope. I'll never forget the day the Pope popped over. It was Pope Francis, the new guy. It was the guy before him, Pope Benedict. One of those letter numbers. He came to pray over the 9/11 site in New York City, and then we had a little ticker tape parade for him. You might remember seeing it on Fox News. And he was in that little bulletproof car they called the Popesicle. And then we flew him down for a beautiful reception on the lawn, and then we played some lawn darts, and went inside for a big dinner, and we got to know each other. He called me George. I called him Benny. And after dinner, he wanted to pray over America by praying through the White House, kind of room by room. And it was all great until he broke out that smoky, swingy thing again. Because, see, I had never seen one of those. And I'm like, what is that, a hookah? And we had enacted a no smoking policy in the White House. And I'm Pope. But it was good. I decided not to say anything. And you know, we made our way through the different rooms, and I found out the Pope, he prays in Latin American. And, you know, you ever have one of those thoughts that you shouldn't have had it, and then it's too late? The feather's already out of the pillow? Because I asked him if I could swing it, you know. I wanted to swing the smoky thing. But really what I wanted to do was do a 360. And see if the incense stays in. And speaking of that incense, what a fragrance. Never smelled anything like it. And I was telling everybody about it, you know, the next day down in my briefing room. And I was remembering that smell, and I asked him, what is that? And Cheney piped up, he said, it's potpourri, Mr.